Hello, we're going to talk about the science of reading, and I am Brandy Henson. In this presentation, we're going to discuss what science of reading is, the different models in science of reading, and a few key terms like phonics, fluency, vocabulary, phonological awareness. We're going to also discuss the code emphasis versus meaning emphasis and orthographic mapping. Now, the most important part of being a teacher is understanding how we can help students be the best that they can be. And when it comes to reading, the science of reading model gives the teachers the tools that they need to ensure that students are learning how to read. What is science of reading? Well, science of reading is a scientific view on how students learn to read. It's really understanding how the brain works, how it makes connections, and how we can sequentially build upon skills for students to learn how to become successful readers. It also helps us identify areas that maybe students are struggling once we understand the steps that students need to take and we build upon them so that they can learn how to read. Then we can identify and pinpoint which areas students need maybe more work on. The first model for science of reading is the simple view of reading model. It was created by Goff and Termer, and they created a formula that was just decoding times language comprehension equals reading comprehension. Now, decoding is just using letter sounds to piece together words, understanding that each letter has a sound, and if we put them together, we can blend a word. Language comprehension is understanding spoken words we may hear, words that we've said before. Now, these areas can be taught separately and assessed separately. That way we understand that students really comprehend how to do both areas. But they really, once they come together, it should help students have good reading comprehension. Now, Hollis Scarborough created the reading rope model. She created it when she was trying to illustrate to parents the complexity of how their children learn how to read. And within the rope, there are 2 cords, and each cord is made of many smaller strands. Now the 2 cords one cord represents word recognition, the other cord represents language comprehension. And each one of those cords has many strands. So word recognition, that includes phonological awareness, decoding, and previous word knowledge that they may have encountered. And each strand is going to come together to make the cord, and each cord is going to be intertwined with one another to create a strong rope. And it's like with reading. Once we help students master those early skills, and we just build upon it, and we intertwine them, and we get a strong reader. Now, the 4-part mental processor model is one that just looks at the different areas of the brain and how they work together. So the 4 parts of the processor model are context processor, meaning processor, phonological, and orthographic processor. Now, each one of these is going to work together to help students read. So the phonological and the orthographic processor are going to coincide and allow students to decode words, while the meaning processor is going to help students make meaning of the words. The context goes right along with that by helping students make meaning of familiar words. ERISE phases are listed in sequential order, starting out from when students are just entering the reading process. So in the pre-alphabetic phase, students really don't have an understanding of many reading skills, and that's like the preschool and first grade, preschool and kindergarten. They're just guessing words and just reading from memory. Now, the partial alphabetic phase is the end of kindergarten and beginning of first grade, and that's where students are learning sight words and they're getting a beginning understanding of reading. In the full alphabetic phase, that's first grade and the end of first grade, and students are really building a strong foundation at that point for reading. But by the consolidated alphabetic phase, it's like second grade, students are expanding their vocabulary and they're creating spelling patterns until they get to the automatic phase, which is when reading becomes natural. Now, what is phonological awareness? I've said it a lot. That is basically just having an understanding that letters have sounds and that we can put those sounds together and we make words with those sounds. We can also manipulate phonemes once we have a good mastery of the letter sounds. Then we can start deleting beginning phonemes or deleting phonemes or replacing them, so we can kind of play with phonemes, which are letter sounds. And that's important because it's the most basic building block for reading. Now, phonics, that is the method of teaching students all of these foundational skills for reading, giving them all the tools that they need so that they can learn how to read, so that they're reading these words and in the future they can read more complex words. And so we're really giving them the tools to prepare them for future reading and helping them to discover words. Fluency, what is fluency? It is not reading quickly. It is not how many words can you read in a minute. While we do want students to read quickly, we also want them to read in a natural flow and understand what they are reading. Now, this is important because it's going to create a positive experience for students and make reading more fun. I mean, if they understand what they're reading, then they're going to be more interested in the material. Vocabulary, that is just having an understanding of words. We want to give students a bountiful vocabulary. We want to enrich their writing and help them when they're reading. If they know more words, then they're going to be better able to figure out most of the words that they're reading. There is a debate between code emphasis versus meaning emphasis, and what code emphasis is, that is giving students sets of letters to memorize and the sounds that they make. So like CH says ch, and that helps students know that as soon as they see that, they automatically know that's the sound ch. Meaning emphasis is like whole word recognition. So you are giving students like sight words and help and wanting them to recognize those words. So when they see it on a book, they automatically know what it is. Orthographic mapping is just helping as how students take words and their sounds and sound out new words. So when a student sees a new word, they're going to pull from their memory of what a letter sound is and how it coincides with one another, and they're going to be able to decode a brand new word. So then they're pulling from their stored memory from all that they've learned before and creating a new memory of a new word. Now, teachers must provide students with the necessary skills to build a solid foundation for reading, and that is what Science of Reading really gives teachers, the tools to understand how to better teach. Thank you.